It's happy to hear because I know that Decatur's doing a thing like with nursing homes and stuff. And there's a lot.
Okay.
Just if you have any questions, you just want me.
All right. Thank you. All right. Who's the chairman? Ooh, Conley. She here?
I think Donlin's doing it for a little bit,
Oh.
and then she's coming.
Well, you know what? They had problems here at the Capitol.
I know.
So my lady lives
No,
across
do
the street
him
from
like
the
he
Bobbies.
does us.
She said, I just got out of there. You chairing, Jim? Looks like you're the chair there, big boy.
I love this place.
Causes Pizza. Hey, they got a pizza out there. Is that wrong? Oh, they was waiting on Keisha. She probably coming.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, March 12th, 2024 to order. If you'll all rise and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, if you'll call the roll.
Will do. Alderman Redpath.
Here.
Alderman Gregory.
Here.
Alderman Williams.
Here.
Alderman Rockford.
Here.
Alderwoman Purchase.
Here.
Alderwoman Notariano.
Here.
Alderman Carlson.
Present.
Alderwoman Connolly. Alderman Donlin.
Here.
Alderman Hanauer.
Here.
Mr. Chair, a quorum is present.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Next on the agenda is the approval of committee meetings from our last committee meeting. There's a motion and a second to approve the committee meeting minutes as submitted. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Madam Treasurer, please present your report. Good evening.
Good evening, Chair. The Treasurer's report for the corporate fund for the month of February. The beginning balance is $61,671,051. We took in total receipts of $13,775,587. We had total disbursements in the month of February totaling $15,222,169, which left the corporate fund ending balance in the month of February at $59,224,469. The ending balance of the general fund also includes $14,648,597, which is the ending balance of the ARPA money in February. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. Any questions of the Treasurer? Any questions of the Treasurer? Any questions of the Treasurer? Hearing none, the Chair will entertain a motion to accept the Treasurer's report as submitted. Motion by Alderman Redpath, seconded by Alderman Hanauer. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Mr. Clerk, next item on the agenda is the ordinances for committee consideration.
CWLP 2024-060, an ordinance approving a 3-year contract extension and authorizing additional funding in the amount of $665,000 under contract number UE 21-01-63, number 2 dyed fuel for CWLP turbines with Energy Petroleum Company for a total amount payable of $1,765,000 for the Office of Public Utilities.
Consent.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for the consent agenda. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Mr. Clerk.
2024-061, an ordinance accepting bids and authorizing the execution of contract UE 24-02-83 general maintenance and repair at the generating facility 3 years with Henson Robinson Company in an amount not to exceed $1 million for the Office of Public Utilities.
Consent.
Motion and a second for the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
2024-062, an ordinance authorizing additional payment to Aaron Fox Schiff LLP as outside counsel for the assistance with coal combustion residuals, regulations, and utilities, flue gas desulfurization, sludge landfill, in an amount of $70,000 for a total amount not to exceed $95,000 for the Office of Public Utilities.
Second.
Motion is second for the consent agenda. Any discussion, any discussion, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
2024-063, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of a vacuum evacuator from Vermeer Midwest from a third-party cooperative purchasing agreement with Sourcewell in an amount not to exceed $117,656.65 for the Office of Public Utilities.
Second.
Motion and a second for the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
2024-064, an ordinance authorizing a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $115,000 for spending authority pursuant to the Demonstration of Energy Efficiency Development Deed grant from the American Public Power Association's APPA, and authorizing a purchase of camera equipment for the advanced surveillance and asset monitoring system from A1 Lock Incorporated from a state contract in an amount not to exceed $126,796 for the Office of Public Utilities.
Consent.
Motion and a second for the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
2024-065, an ordinance authorizing an agreement with Toshiba America Energy Systems Corporation for a major turbine overhaul of Unit 4 in an amount not to exceed $3,651,900 for the Office of Public Utilities.
Consent.
Second. Motion and a second for the consent agenda. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
2024-066, an ordinance authorizing payment to the Energy Authority Incorporated and Mid-Continent Independent Systems Operator Incorporated for transmission schedule fees for the fiscal year 2025 in an amount of $4,399,005 for the Office of Public Utilities.
Move for consent.
Second. Motion and a second for the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
2024-067, an ordinance approving 12 separate recreational leases with various tenants for a one-year term for the Office of Public Utilities.
Move for consent.
Second. Motion and a second for consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
2024-068, an ordinance approving 6 separate residential leases with various tenants for a one-year term for the Office of Public Utilities.
Move for consent.
Second. Motion by Alderman Redpath, seconded by Alderman Rockford. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
2024-069, an ordinance approving 29 separate farm leases with various tenants for a one-year term for the Office of Public
Move
Utilities.
for consent.
Second. Motion and a second for the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Public Works.
2024-070, an ordinance authorizing execution of a master services agreement with NV5 Geospatial Incorporated for various support services and deliverables for the geographic information systems and computerized maintenance management systems for an amount not to exceed $305,000 for the Office of Public Works.
Move consent. Second. Motion by Alderman Rockford, seconded by Alderman Williams. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
2024-071, an ordinance accepting the lowest bid and authorizing execution of contract number PW 24-31 with Evans Carthage for landscape disposal services from April 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2026, in an amount not to exceed $1,603,902 for the Office of Public Works.
I believe there is an amendment. Yes. Mr. Corporation Counsel, will you please describe what the amendment does?
Yes, the amendment corrects a Scrivener's error, which listed the price at $1,603,902 to $1,630,902. The 0 and 3 were flipped in the transcribing.
Thank you, Counselor.
To amend.
Second. Motion by Alderman Hanauer, seconded by who's?
Gregory.
Alderman Gregory.
Alderman
Any
Gregory.
discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor of amendment number 1 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. To the ordinance proper, is there a motion? Consent. As amended.
Move as amended. Second.
For the consent?
Consent. Yes.
Motion and a second for the consent agenda. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
2024-072, an ordinance authorizing a one-year renewal of contract RFP PW 22-24 with Republic Services Incorporated for residential landscape waste collection in an amount not to exceed $1,164,290 for the Office of Public Works.
Motion for debate.
Motion and a second for the debate agenda. Any discussion?
Who was the second?
Second.
Thank you.
Second, Alderman Gregory. Any discussion? Any discussion? We'll let the record reflect that Chair Conley is present and is assuming the chair. Alderwoman?
Thank you, Alderman Donelan. Apologies to my colleagues. I just got back in town.
Welcome.
Thank you, Alderman. So we have a motion and a second. This is for the renewal of the contract with Republic Services. Is there any discussion? Alderwoman Purchase?
Thank you, Chairwoman. Is now the appropriate time for them to speak, or are they coming up?
They can speak this is I would assume, the ordinance that they're concerned about speaking on, so yes, they can come up. But if we have any council members with concerns or questions first,
Oh, I
I'll tell
can
you
start
right now, I
that
have
too.
plenty, so
I mean, I can start.
go right ahead, Alderwoman, please do.
So I was contacted by Republic Services last week, I think it was Thursday or Friday, and I understand that they called because they had heard some concerns that I said previously last week, but I still think that there's some type of discrepancy. They said they received information that wasn't correct, such as contact numbers. There's garbage that has not been picked up for 2 or 3 weeks. What I have been doing is asking my constituents which I don't feel like I should have to make them go that extra step, but ask them, could you please go over to Republic Services and ensure that your property is listed in their system so that we can know that they're supposed to pick up your trash. And then also, please just let me know who you spoke to, because I would like to report that to Ms. Christina, who's in our Public Works Department, as we continue to have issues. So I would just like them to come so that everyone can hear what they have in place to correct these issues. And I also think that they shouldn't be charging people, since they haven't been picking up their trash, or doing some type of credit for them to accommodate the services that haven't been provided.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alderwoman. Did you have any other comments?
Not right now, just after they done talking.
I think that was a good first foray into some of the issues and concerns that I've heard too. So, Alderman Williams.
Yes, I think the Alderwoman covered some of my concerns, and I'll yield and wait until I hear the response or presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alderman. Anyone else before Republic comes up? Okay, I will say, and do we have the representative from Republic here? Please come up to the podium, introduce yourselves. And just to give you a little bit more feedback, I will tell you, please come up. My inbox, telephone, Facebook messages have been full of complaints about Republic. The way that the transfer was covered, we got your letter yesterday afternoon. I understand businesses doing consolidations with confidentiality clauses. That said, you provide a service that is extraordinarily critical to our residents, and I don't want to put any heat on your drivers, on the people who are actually doing those actual collections. At a management level, this was not handled well. I also continue to get a lot of very upset contacts about the leaf waste, the yard bag collection, which is the subject of this ordinance. I have had constituents who contact me after leaving their bags out for weeks on end, weeks. So multiple times their street has been missed for pickup. So certainly we'd like to hear from you, hear where you're going and how you're going to be remedying some of these concerns and issues that we're experiencing in our community. So thank you very much.
Yeah, so Jacob Youngblood, the general manager here locally at Springfield. We are very apologetic over the issues that the residents are seeing. When the transfer of the information came to us, for whatever reason, there was a lack of information received, so we were under the assumption that, like us, if you're a Republic customer, you have a blue container, very identifiable, that's our customer. When we took a lot of these waste management customers over, they don't necessarily have that. And especially when we go into the alleys, it's very hard to determine who is a waste management customer because they're personal containers and there's no identifying markers. So initially, we were on the assumption that, hey, we got a blue container service that and a green container service that. Pretty simple and straightforward. We found that that's not necessarily the issue, and it's not the resident's fault. It was a communication gap that we did not receive, or we had a misconception of what actually was on the street. We have been diligently working through that, and we've been changing out the customer containers as we notice them, and that will continue through this transitional process. It's not unheard of for the first 6 weeks to have a lot of disruption because of it. Just, we don't know the oddities of the business that Waste Management's been doing for quite a long while. But we will continuously work through those.
Can I just ask you what communication you've had with your new customers?
So that's another piece of it. We have a system that's called Call 'em All. And so we enter their phone numbers into a text or phone call system, and it sends it out, and it should text or place a voice recording to that customer. Now, that only works if the phone numbers are correct. That's another information gap we did not receive, was the correct phone numbers. There were a lot of incorrect phone numbers in the system, so they never received those messages. We had a couple of weather events that delayed service, and then we really noticed that gap whenever those went out.
So nothing in the mail?
Sorry?
Nothing in the mail?
No, so we also send out, when we acquired Waste Management, or their residential customers, we sent out postcards to every address. And your resident should be receiving another one. I just approved a mail out for the reroute coming April 1st to help create some synergies around it all. But there are Republic postcards sent to every address that we had in our system. Communicating, and it was directed to call Republic Services. We've got a special section in our call center just handling those type of calls. And it has, we have a number listed here. Yeah, I can get you guys the number they should be calling. So it's directly linked to a Republic call center.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry, I didn't.
I'm Susan Piazza. I'm the manager of municipal sales, and I manage city contracts for Republic Services. And I am here on behalf of the yard waste as well, the yard waste contract, and to just answer any questions there are, and also we did send a letter to Mr. Fuchs with a couple of options to the yard waste contract, as opposed to what's on the agenda tonight. So just wanted to make sure everyone was in receipt of that.
Are you referring to the letter that was sent to council yesterday afternoon?
This one with two
No, that's
different.
our tentative bid we put in.
This is two different, you guys were requesting you were requesting a reduction in our proposed rate. And we were able to provide a slight reduction, and then another option as well, and that's what this letter is.
But did you send it?
I will say, I've been in
We're
a
not-
conference all day. I haven't been
Yeah.
able to check my email. Has anyone else seen this letter?
Direct,
Okay, so,
went to
and that's appropriate to be, your negotiations are with our staff in the Office of Public Works.
It went to Mr. Fuchs, yes. Would you like me to cover that, or is this not the place?
I don't know that this is the place right now, unless, Director, you're at a point where you can speak to this right now?
Fine.
If point of order, if
Would
we're in
you-
a negotiation, we shouldn't be talking about this.
Yeah, this is not, this is, well, that's between you and the Director.
Sure.
At this point.
Absolutely.
We have a proposal in front of us. Thank you, Alderman.
Thank you.
So if we're going,
Real quick, if that's the case, should we just hold this in committee until it comes back with the full negotiation, when the negotiations are finalized?
You can do however you want.
Right, yeah, the committee can do that. I know we received the letter yesterday afternoon. I have not had a chance to meet with the director to talk about it in detail. So we intend to go through it and provide the council with an option, but I'm not prepared to discuss it in detail today.
so this was a letter that was received by the city yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We have a number of council members who've signed up to speak. I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to present before, or you want to go ahead and hear some questions?
Do you want to mention the trucks we have in, the additional trucks?
Yeah, so to help kind of streamline a lot of this, we received 3 additional trucks. The final one arrived yesterday to help support this initiative moving things forward.
Is that for the yard waste or
For
the?
both, for
For
all.
both,
Well,
okay.
yeah, both are
You
kind of
both interchange
hand in
the
hand.
trucks?
Yeah, they intersect, exactly.
And that's why
So-
one has influenced the other.
So with the 3 trucks that were received, we were able to cover all the yard waste routes today and then get the it helps both, what we would call a line of business. So it helps both lines of business.
Okay, thank you very much. Alderman Donelan, you're the first who chimed in.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just a, first of all, point of clarification, more parliamentary procedure-wise. Mr. Clerk, who made the motion for debate?
I did, and I'd like to change that to hold.
Second.
That was the person who made the motion and the second were the
Okay, so
same.
we have a motion and a second to hold this ordinance in committee.
Okay, and now I'd
We'll
like to
continue
ask my
with our
question.
discussion,
Not
yes.
to belabor the point, needless to say, I think everyone up here has concerns with the way the transitions was being handled. My question is something you said earlier. My understanding was the individual residents that have had waste management with no alleys, that their bins are those big green bins, and they were out in the front of the house. The individuals that have waste management with alley service, they had their own bins, not the green ones. And you said earlier you're going to switch them over to the green bins.
No.
We'll switch them to the blue.
Blue.
I'm sorry, the blue bins now.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Anyway, just a question about that. My understanding is the blue bins are being utilized because of the larger trucks with the grappling arm and that, what I'll say, the traditional garbage trucks that we all grew up with. Maybe not all of us, but some of you are younger. But
Sure.
anyway, I'll say the regular garbage trucks without the grappling arm. What trucks are going to be going through the alleys?
So the rear load, what you're referring to, is traditionally going through there now. What the difference is, the reason why we want to switch them from the blue bin to their personal bins is for workers' comp.
Vice versa, yeah.
Other way around.
Yeah. So you're right, the ones that are curbside, you have we call them ASLs, automated side loader, they grab it with a mechanical arm, dump it. And the alleyways aren't big enough to accommodate that truck, so we send what we call rear loaders in there, where the guy in the back of the truck tips it. The difference is, the reason why we're switching to a blue bin is that repetitive bending down,
Right.
dumping their personal cans, that can cause injury to our employees, which we do not want. So on the back of those trucks, we have what's called a tipper. It's a yellow little claw. They roll the container back and the claw grabs it, dips it. So all they're doing is rolling to the back of the truck, and then the tipper does the lifting for them. Because we don't know what's at the bottom of these garbage cans. Somebody could have a computer or a lead brick. We don't know. When they reach down to pick it up, that's.
No, I thank you for that clarification. You answered my question.
Yeah.
Chair?
Thank you. Alderman Gregory.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just start off by saying I hate that you have to be here because, there was a gentleman that came before to sell or something or whatever. And, and
No, he was the area municipal manager.
thank you.
Yeah.
I wish he was here because, I just feel like, if he can come in and sell us some and, call us off for all these meals and all this craziness, then we could have talked about, you guys acquiring waste management and sort of prepped this earlier because I probably feel like he probably knew about that then. That's nor here or there. But,
That was not why he was.
okay.
So that deal wasn't finalized with Waste Management at the end of January. So it was deal signed, we go to work on February 1st. So it was pretty quick. So that's why we don't know the reasons why Waste Management exited. They just came to us and said, we no longer want to be in Springfield residentially.
All right.
Or are you interested in purchasing or acquiring it? We said, sure.
All right, thank you. So let me ask you this: Is there with your new customers that have alley service and their own trash cans? Is it a problem with them all just putting them out front like everyone else, or
No,
so,
that's
so we
in
can,
and the part of the ordinance. We've requested a revision of the city ordinance, and that's part of it in there. Getting out of the alleyways, because your recycling and your yard waste are all at the curbside, which then you can identify which address is which.
Okay.
Going through these alleyways, you don't know whose is whose because there's
Okay.
so many personal containers with so many different labels on them. We even have reports that the address we're picking up even has a Lake area sticker on it, so drivers are unable to identify.
I want to keep to this, and this is really about our yard, the yard waste portion of it. So can you talk to me a little bit about how you're planning on improving that? That service?
We received those 3 trucks that we're going to be putting on the streets that, well, they're actually on the street immediately. Again, because backing up to the acquisition or we had no idea. So we ordered original trucks for curbside because we were understanding that these were Waste Management curbside customers.
But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this contract we're about to pay, maybe, about our yard waste bags. How is that process going to improve? Because right now, we got streets that get missed. We have to call folks. Our workers go do it. And if they're going to do it so much, we might as well just put the money there and take on that service, So that's what I'm sort of, how are we going to improve that?
So that's part of the same trucks that are servicing alleyways on trash are the same trucks that service the yard waste contract. So a lot of bending and repetition uses, and they put it in the back of the truck. That's how that's utilized.
No, I get that. I see them do that, but so we're missing something. So what are your plans to make sure that we're not missing some of these streets and some of these neighborhoods with this?
Referring to yard waste.
Yes, yard waste. Yard waste only. I'll give my thoughts on trash at that.
So that, the issue with yard waste, the issue was having to push trucks to get the trash in the alleys. So now that we are increasing our amount of rear load style trucks, it helps everything. Okay. So they intertwine. So I'm sorry, it's not a real specific, just yard waste, they intertwine.
Yeah.
So by getting more rear load trucks in, instead of getting the ASLs we thought
Originally
we needed,
yeah.
it helps everything. Helps improve the service. We also have, we can cover the routes.
Okay. So because most of our people, honestly, people, in my area, we have two nice ditches, so you can't put them out there on the curb, so you got to put them, sort of on the side. So people are going to put these in different places in the front of their houses, but we got to make sure that they're getting picked up.
Yeah, so we have a communal website that, not website, we update the website each day at the Public Works, the map on the Public Works website. And also there's an email address. If residents are having concerns or not, they can go straight to us too, and we can send a truck immediately. That way that there's no delay in communication if they perceive to miss.
Okay. Well, we got some of my other colleagues that want to ask a question, but in this next week or two, I think you guys need to really, really put some thought into, how you guys are going to ensure that we're going to get these bags picked up.
Absolutely.
Because we should not have to send our public works people out to go get them after we're paying, over $1 million to get them. And we have to, come up with a plan for improvement. I hear what you're doing. I know mistakes work, but we got to think about how we're going to improve it. So thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Next, I'm sorry, did you want to?
I just wanted to clarify Alderman Gregory's comment about the area area municipal manager, Don Collins, that was here when he said there were great things coming, because this is more than the first time I've heard this several times. He was not referencing the waste management acquisition. It was not even, I didn't know about it. I mean, it was not, he was referencing, and we met with Chief of Staff the following morning. He was referencing our availability of electrification of garbage trucks. And you as a city capital, all eyes on Illinois, all eyes on Springfield, as a potential partner for electrification. That's what Mr. Collins was referencing. So I just want to put that out there. We weren't trying to say, hey, we're going to get more customers. We were saying, hey, we have a unique opportunity. Republic Services is the only hauler in the industry electrifying garbage trucks. We have about 30, 40 around the country. It was that opportunity. I just want to put that out there.
Thank
Because I
you.
think it was not
I think
clear.
that definitely, when he came in, was very vague.
Yeah,
And
we
then
didn't know
all of
he
a
was
sudden-
going to say that. We were like, what is he talking about?
Yeah, I will tell you, when I started getting phone calls and emails from people saying, what's this, I'm like,
We thought he was going to
No
talk
idea.
about something else, and he got all excited about electrification, and we are excited, but anyway, we were like, so
Okay.
I just want to clarify, that was certainly a very zealous offer, but it had nothing to do with current services today or
okay,
the
thank you very much,
acquisition.
because
Sure.
that was very confusing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Alderman Carlson.
Thank you, Chair.
My concern is really about the communication aspect of the whole thing. I don't think it was handled right from the get-go. But I mean, I want to help find a solution and a problem. And I think you had mentioned a few minutes ago that there are, and I know there's some growing pains the next few weeks, there are some phone lines and or emails people can call. My question with that, I don't know your business, but are those extra lines, is that above and beyond what you would normally do, say, 2 or 3 months down the road when, the growing pains are over? Because that's really our frustration. Let's just communicate whether, we're all getting calls and, is there something that, so really that's the question. Are there extra lines available right now over the course of the next 2 or 3 weeks above and beyond?
Our call center is kind of set in pods, and they're strategically placed around the country. And currently, there is a specific pod handling just Springfield. And that number that's sent on the postcard, that links directly to that pod, handling specifically this.
For this reason,
For this WM
reason.
acquisition.
Because of the issue
That's right.
of
Yes.
the transition, so.
And if I could add as well, since we're referring to trash and recycle now, since these customers are individually billed, when they have their first invoice, they can go on we have an app, Republic Services. They can get notifications via the app. They can report a miss. They can request a cart exchange, request another cart for their services on our app, and that's totally, so many people do business with their thumbs, right? So that's an option as well. Once they have their first invoice and an account number, they can go on and download our app. And
And I
we
know
could
you
get
have-
info out on that as well.
You said, I know you have some additional trucks. You may have additional drivers or new drivers, because I know last week, one day, in 3 hours time frame in front of my house, you guys were up and down 3 times within 3 hours. So somebody was lost or somebody did something wrong. It was 3 times in 3 hours. So I knew something was.
Yes, looks like this, right? Yeah.
So anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Could have been yard waste, garbage, and recycling.
I wanted
wasn't
to
gonna
say
say
that, but I was going to
I'm
say
gonna say
like
no.
maybe different lines of business, but
And so to go back to this original acquisition, our original messaging was your service day will not change. So Waste Management sent over the day they were servicing that account. We didn't change anything like that because we didn't want to confuse it. We wanted to wrap our arms around to actually see what we had before we started creating synergies. Now that we've seen that, come April 1st, there is a reroute in process, and your residents will be receiving postcards detailing all this.
Thank you. Alderwoman Purchase.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I understand you're getting into doing technology on the phones, but especially for my ward, there's a lot of seniors that are not using that type of technology. So what do they do?
they can still call.
Yeah, there's a
And it-
number on there.
And this is a line that someone is actually picking up, or is it an automated line walking them through steps?
A real
No,
person.
it's real people.
Okay, and I'm pretty sure you guys don't have the data or numbers in front of you right now, but I'm just very curious to see, just like we received calls, how many calls have you all received and been able to go back out and actually pick up their trash within that same day, or just let them know what was going on?
So you're correct in that I don't have it in front of me, but I do have a report. I do have a way to pull that report, and I intend to get it. I
I
just
would
didn't have
love to
time when
see
I got
that.
into town today. I don't have the software on my laptop, but he does.
Okay.
So I just need to, and I can drill it down and to to line of business, and I do it for some of my other cities that we have contracts with. Happy to start pulling that and providing that data.
And since this was such a surprise to you all to take over from Waste Management, did you have some type of idea of how to, my first ask that I made, would you be able to reduce or give a credit towards some of the individuals?
I don't want to, in a public setting, promise anything, but what we typically will do is we go back, once we're notified, we go back within a 24-hour time frame in most cases, and we collect. So we're still providing a service. If the resident has not incurred a different expense to get that trash hauled away, then typically, but that would be a general manager decision. It's not out of the realm, but it would be a definite case by case. We'd have to have history on how many times it was missed. and why, so.
Okay. And I know you just pointed to him as the general. How do you feel about that?
So, and I agree with Susan, we'd have to look at it on a case-by-case basis, because we do eventually, now, I agree, it's not timely as of now, but if you ask any Legacy Republic customer, you consider our wash by our service. We will eventually get there. And although some of the residents have been inconvenienced, their trash does get serviced, and we clean up it all. We don't leave anything behind.
Yeah.
So we still provide the amount of service or the amount of collections required to service that account. And as this partnership moves forward, we will get more timely and you won't see these headaches.
And my last final comment, I'm not trying to speak for the mayor and her administration, but it was very disheartening of how this information was given to the city, and then they called and contacted us to tell us that you all were taking over. And I think that it was almost like you all could not, some of your staff could not talk to us about this until after it took place.
Yeah, no,
That's right.
that's
So
a
legal
confidential.
binding contract, confidentiality, we were not able to discuss anything.
So you understand our frustration then?
I do.
Okay, I just want to make sure so it don't make it
Yeah,
sound
no,
like
we
I'm,
get it,
you know, a
but
mad
yeah,
lady up here. But knowing that people did not get that information up front, so we could be able to help disseminate that information out into our community. Just like each of us have constituents, and I sound really loud tonight. Just like
microphones are
each of
working.
us have, I'm passionate right now. Each of us have constituents that are calling you all, they're calling us. They're sending us emails all day. So it's a little frustrating when we can't give them answers. And when I spoke to you, I said, please get us some of that information so we could tell them, did you call this number? Did you receive this? So that we can help you all and be a part of the solution. Right now, it seems like we're not on the same page as you all. That's how I feel.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderman Rockford.
Thank you, Chair. So my question is, this states landscape waste collection. Now, is that garbage included in that? This is just leaves and brush and, so is there a separate contract for our garbage?
So garbage is what we consider open market, so residents are free to choose whomever they want to go with.
Okay, are you the only folks that pick up the yard waste?
Correct.
Lake area does not?
That's right.
Their
Okay.
contract is an exclusive contract.
So
with us.
my question is you can drive around the streets, and you can see the torn brown bags that these leaves are in, and they sit there. Do you guys get out and rake these things up? How do we clean those up when it's time for collection? You know, and they sit there, you know, and you're sitting there telling us you will be back to get it. How do you guys get it? Do you get out and shovel it up, and when there's parked cars? And I got them in my neighborhoods, and I'm asking, you know, because I know they've been sitting there, and I'm sure there's stickers that got to be on these bags, and this, no stickers? So you know, again, I'm going to disagree that we get by and we pick this stuff up, whether it was you or Waste Management or whoever. But I'm just asking, how do your guys do it? Do they come back? You say we'd never leave anything behind. I can show you the fence line in my neighborhood that's full of garbage and leaves and in bags. And so, again, my question is how do they come back and when these bags are torn and we get a rain and they get soggy and you guys throwing them in your trucks or however you do it? You know, I don't understand why we don't have, again, we're going to, you know, dirty up our streets with another container for our waste, our leaves and stuff, you know. There's garbage, you know, your guys dump the cans into the trucks, garbage flies all over. It's in the inlets, it's in the long fence lines, it's in yards. So again, when you say that they take everything, they don't leave anything behind, I disagree. So again, I just don't know how they do that. You know, when the bags are torn and the leaves and the brush is sitting there, the gummy balls and whatnot.
Yeah.
Do they rake it? Do they shovel it? That's my question. Or do they just drive by it?
Well, we hope they're not just driving by it. You know, the due diligence of certain individuals is probably better than some. And so we encourage all of our drivers, like, listen, clean up all the mess. But can I sit here and positively say that every one of them do it? No, I can't. But I will say on a case-by-case basis, we will address that driver and make sure that they're doing their due diligence.
We could have a route supervisor as well, assist
Well,
with
again,
that.
I know it's a big city. There's a lot to do. I understand that, and sometimes it's up to the resident to go out and do their due diligence. But again, You know, it gets old, you know? It's just like the same places get skipped over and over again. So, again, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Williams.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for coming, and hopefully you're still glad you took the acquisition. I don't know. I'll just I've reduced it down to two questions because I know we've been long on this issue. The first issue deals with the customer. So in this acquisition process, was the customer given a choice?
They still have a choice.
Meaning, when it happened, they could just say, oh, no, I don't want to go that way, I'm going to pick up.
Absolutely.
So that never changed?
That's right. So we don't have any sort of exclusive contract in the city. And
Okay.
all residents are free to choose whomever they want to be their service provider.
That was easy enough. So, and then the second one is, so we advocated, this is before my time, a lot of this for paved alleys. And my Pillsbury area got all paved alleys. But I don't know if Director Fuchs was even around or Nate Bottoms or somebody. But anyway, so once the paved alleys came, then people put the garbage on the front. But the purpose of doing the paved alleys was they would say, because the alleys was in such a condition, it was just hectic on those trucks and drivers. So all of them, the money got spent and all of them got paved, but now they're out front. Is that a truck issue? Why they're mandated to be out front?
So I would just like to comment regarding alley service. There's more to take into consideration than just the shape of the road. The trucks are tall, right? Even though we're using rear load trucks, they're tall. Many times we're scraping trees. There might be low hanging cable or phone lines that if we hit them, anybody, you know, like a fire truck or something would hit them as well. They're supposed to be 12 feet off the ground. Oftentimes they're not. So alleys with overgrown trees, brush, low-hanging wires, those are all incidents, right, where we could have not an accident per se, but
We can
damage.
cause disruption, right?
Yeah, disruption, damage our
Especially
truck,
after a
et
snow or
cetera.
ice storm.
So basically it doesn't matter if it's
Well-
a paved alley or not a paved alley.
It definitely helps.
It helps. I mean, if everything else, if the wires are as high as they're supposed to be, if the trees are trimmed and off the, overhang, it just, there's a lot that goes into an alley, and that's why the curb is preferred in most cases.
Okay, and I just needed to understand that because, depending on what neighborhood association or where I'm at in my ward, out front ain't always the best choice
Right.
that the people want that live there, especially when they have a paved alley. Thank you.
They may have a hilly front yard and a flat alley.
Okay.
That's something we can take into consideration, right? If they can't get a cart to the front.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Hanauer.
Thank you. A couple things, we've kind of intertwined the two different sectors on this. We've got the yard waste, which you guys are the only ones in town, you do all of them. I don't have a lot of problems with that until this merger, and then we started seeing some issues, right? The garbage, the way the merger was, I will just say this, Waste Management seemed to be able to bill people, and I don't know when you bill do you bill ahead of time, or do you bill for what you've done?
I don't know what billing cycle they're on, to be honest. It varies from city to city. I can find out for you.
I think it's something that
It's a quarterly bill.
needs to be looked at, and because I guess my concern about this is, from the garbage standpoint, when you guys merged, I realize you can get bad data, but they certainly knew they were able to bill the residents. And so, and I get the confidentiality, but if there was, and hindsight's 20/20, of course, but this should have gone out to the people and let them respond, back to you or do something, because we can't have garbage just sitting around.
I
Just can't do it.
I totally understand what you're saying, but we couldn't do anything in advance. And if we had waited till we could talk about the acquisition after it was done and then surveyed, there would have been a lapse in service, right?
And I guess my concern is, and this is more on our contract, are we able, if service isn't met to the city's faction, is that a situation that we can levy fines or whatever? Because I'm not too sure. I obviously you're pointing at you know, the other company, and they're going to point back at you guys. You know, it's something we need to kind of look at it. It's because it wasn't done very well, and people are, and you know, and you guys are saying, well, we'll see if we're going to allow people, if we're going to give them, you know, take money off their bill because they didn't get serviced. I would say you should. I think that that's wrong. If you didn't show up when you're supposed to, you should have gotten, you know, some of them went, how long? Quite a few, you know, 3-4 weeks. That's unacceptable, and I think you guys understand that. The reason why I asked to hold this is I think that we need this to go back into negotiations and with this letter and everything, and I think that we need to wait until it comes back to us, and then we can deal with it. I don't think it would be appropriate for us to vote on it tonight and to, you know, when we're still in negotiation. It's kind of not the way to go here. So that's just my thoughts.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Redpath.
So I have a different side of the story, and I can tell you I've been a Republic customer for a long time, and we do not have alleys in my area. If we do, I don't know where they are, but I can tell you we don't have them out the lake. Every time I've had a complaint with Republic, they've taken care of it. And I know that this period of transition with the other company was almost a disaster. And I beg anybody to think that they could take this thing on and have that transition as fast as it went. Because it stunned me that one day that they were there and then next week you guys were there, and I thought, how are they going to do this? I mean, that was almost an impossible task.
It was very challenging.
So I just to tell the council how I feel, I can tell you that every time I've had a question or a problem, and Tim Griffin can attest to this because we've dealt with that kind of thing, they've always taken care of it. And the reputation that you have, in my eyes, is good. And I'm glad that you're taking it over, because I think once the problems are worked out, with especially the transition for the alleys and that kind of stuff, we got to find a solution. We had Alderman Rockford has got an area that's got an enormous amount of trash. I beg you to go out there and look at his problem. I really do, because these guys, everybody on this council, their heart's in the city of Springfield. Every one of the people sitting at this horseshoe. We want to make Springfield better. We don't want trash sitting around. You don't want trash sitting around. And the transition was tough. It was quick. But I'll attest to your response to what I've had to deal with over the years, and it's always been good.
Appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Donovan?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. One response to the question about the alleys, which was a really good question. My understanding, this is more towards staff, and I don't want to get into it too much, but my understanding was that the haulers that do not go through alleys are the ones with the larger trucks, and that is what dictated whether or not they had provided alley service. The question I'd like staff to look into is, what does our ordinance say the hauler should do? Because at one time, at least, I don't mean to muddy the waters too much, it said if you have an alley, it's got to be picked up in the alley, and if you don't, then it's in the front. If you could look into that, I don't expect you to respond to that presently, but that was my understanding. But related to the ordinance this evening, just a couple of comments, and you know, just from a historical perspective, the counts at one time, as Alderman, I think, Rockford alluded to, we used to have to do these stickers, and every once in a while when I'm out and about throughout Ward 9, I see stickers on bags and think, oh my gosh, they don't need to put stickers on bags anymore. But the prior councils, what happened, what we did was we implemented a program where the northern part of the city's picked up one week, the southern part of the city's picked up the next week. Pretty simple. We put out a schedule, and yeah, there's problems where things aren't picked up, but I got to say that any time I've ever turned in, except one time, and I won't get into what I had to do, but that any time I've asked for, sent an email to Republic asking that something be picked up because it was missed, it's always picked up. And most of the time, those are either from driving out and about or from a resident that's emailed or called or text me. And I do appreciate that. So, but if we could have some clarification on the alley, but to the ordinance itself, I think it's a solid program. Residents used to have to go out and go to the hardware stores and get the stickers and, where do I put the bags? And there's all kinds of confusion. We've simplified it. That's what this ordinance is all about. As long as it can be worked out regarding the yard waste pickup, I intend on being in full support. But let's see, you're going to give us a good deal, but we won't negotiate that in public here. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Alderman. Alderman Rockford.
Yeah, just real quick, and I'm not here to beat you up or anything like that. And along the lines of we've got bigger trucks now, we've paved our alleys, and we put our garbage on the roads. Well, over the years, these big trucks, and it's just not yours, but the alleys are nicer than the roads because they're taking a beating with the big trucks, and it is. And again, we have people that park on the streets, and and you're supposed to put those cans out so we can get to them, and it doesn't happen. I mean, it's all over. So again, it wasn't our choice to get the bigger trucks. I know that the bulk, you can hold more and this kind of stuff, but again, we're paving the alleys, but we're using the roads, for the alley service. So again, it's kind of a catch-22 because you're tearing up the streets, but you're getting the garbage in the waste. So the landscape waste. But again, I just want to throw that out there. I mean, if we could get a place, if we could get everything in the alley, I have lake areas, so they do a great job. They come down the alley, but the rest of the neighborhood, it was waste management or you guys. So again, it's just we pave the alleys to get the garbage in the alleys, and it's back in the streets. So again, I wish you luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Alderman. Are there no other comments or questions? Just quickly in closing, I want to tell you, I have also been a Republic user for well over a decade. And you have largely been very responsive. So when I initially, people were reaching out to me, I said, Republic does a decent job. I've been using them. Give them a chance. I will tell you, I heard from people who, like Alderman Hanauer, their garbage was missed for 3 weeks in a row. And while that was eventually collected, we are accustomed to our garbage being picked up on a weekly basis. And having that build up, depending on the size of your family, that can mean extra bags are finally out. And again, the people who told me, we ended up having to put out extra bags and all this stuff, but it did finally get collected after 3 weeks. And I know you're trying, and I'm not trying, we're not trying to heap on you, but the enormity of this for our community really is significant. And because people do take pride in their neighborhoods, and they don't want to see garbage sitting out week after week after week. So you said you're going to consider refunds or consider some sort of.
Well, it has to be on a case by, okay.
How do people contact you who've had this experience? What steps should they follow to make sure that they can be part of your consideration? Do they call the number that you have? What sort of documentation?
Yeah,
How do they contact you?
That would be the first avenue, is the number that they received.
And I will tell you, because we got that number too at the beginning of all of this, and these are people who told me, Aaron, I'm only reaching out to you because I called the number, I called the number, I called the number. And then they called me.
So the report I am going to pull tomorrow will list who's called for trash, for recycle, for yard waste.
Okay.
And so I'll be able to break that, it's by account name, address, and then it'll have a brief synopsis of why they called, what we call a reason code, I think the name is.
Okay.
So I'll be able to break all that down. I can look at addresses, who's called us every week, and we have not recovered. That is.
Well, and some of them got angry and then started calling, their
Right.
representatives.
So no, we can look at that off that report. We don't need. I don't want to say we don't need additional phone calls, because if they haven't been calling, how do we need that track record, right?
Right.
We're in a public setting talking about refunds. we need a track record,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. So if people have contacted because some people do, some people are like, I'm going to go, I don't know this company, you're not, I'm a waste management customer, I don't know Republic, I'm going to call and yell at my city employees or my local representative. If that's the case, how would you like us to share that information with you?
I would just start that dialogue, have them call that number. You know, we're a
Well-
company that,
Or how do we want their documentation shared? If they have the address and want to share that with us, we can add that to.
So we should have, if Public Works has been contacted about missed garbage, they should
Would you
provide
have a
that to you.
history, Dave, of addresses? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. That was my concern. Thank you very much. And I appreciate you coming and
Absolutely.
taking a lot of questions tonight about issues not related to yard waste, but also yard waste. We will, so this, do we have anyone else with any further comments? Seeing none, we have a, yes, well, we have a motion and a second to hold this in committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to our next order of
Thank you.
business.
General City Business, 2024-073, an ordinance authorizing payment of $95,000 for settlement of Illinois Human Rights Commission case 2021 SF 0743, Catherine Anastasia Holt versus City of Springfield.
Motion debate.
We have a motion and a second for debate. All those in favor? Or, sorry, I'm sorry, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-074, an ordinance to increase the number of Class A liquor licenses by one for Casas Pizza Incorporated, doing business as McNamara's Par 4 Lounge for the business located at 3455 Freedom Drive.
Motion to amend.
Second.
Motion and a second to amend. Alderman?
It was a wrong address. It's, should be at 7036 Kings Mill Court, and so I put that in.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for the amendment. Everyone has a copy of that at their desk. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Amendment 1?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Motion for consent as amended.
Second.
Motion and a second for consent as amended. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-075, an ordinance authorizing a supplemental appropriation and amending Ordinance 450-10-23 for additional commercial casualty insurance with Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services Incorporated for an additional expenditure of $135,000 for a grand total not to exceed $306,989 for the Office of Budget and Management.
Motion for consent.
Second.
Motion and a second for consent. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-076, an ordinance authorizing execution of an agreement with Central Illinois Communications, doing business as Illinois Times, for the design, printing, content creation, and distribution of the 2024 Visitors Guide and mat pads in an amount not to exceed $90,110 for the Springfield Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Do I have a
Move
motion?
for consent.
Second.
Motion and a second for consent. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Is that all that we have for our city business?
Yes, that's all of the.
All right, I will ask if there is any unfinished business to come before this council tonight. Alderwoman Purchase?
Well, mine's is new business since I didn't see anybody tap it.
Oh, you went really fast to make sure no one did. Before we move to Alderwoman Purchase's new business, does anyone have any unfinished business? Alderwoman, take the mic.
Thank you, Chairwoman.
Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Gregory?
You know, I can always hold. I ain't gonna get in the ladies' way. I
No,
just
we'll
wanted to.
let you go ahead, even
All
though
right.
today is Pay Equity
I
Day.
understand.
Right.
I just wanted to ask Director Fuchs real quick, when we're gonna put out the grass contracts. I've had a couple people ask about that.
That feels like new business.
Yeah, the Housing Division is putting all that together, and I think we'll make that announcement shortly, but it'll be within the first part of April.
Okay, all right. And my last part before I go, I know I'll say that I've talked to like 3 or 4 of our zone managers. I don't know which one's one. I don't know whose name's who, but I just send it, and I will say that I have seen a response on them. I know I'm hard on it. You know, Alderman was talking to me in support of it. So I will say that you know, they have communicated. You know, and I don't even know if I'm sending it to the right person sometimes, but they're getting back to me, and you know, I appreciate that, and the community does too, and I wanted to pass it along from several people who said something to me about it, so I appreciate it. I wasn't in the full support of it, I'm still quite not, but I will say it is doing us just to have some extra eyes on the ground, so.
Well, thank you, Alderman. I appreciate that. I believe we have some very high caliber individuals who are part of our program. We're fairly close to the end of their training. We want to make sure that everybody has a good understanding of all the processes to put in sidewalks, to pave alleys, overlays, zoning, all of that. And they've been spending time with the various sections and various crews so that they have a good understanding of that. We're actually going to be meeting with all the neighborhood police officers on Thursday morning. I think that's going to be a very close association. So the decision has not been made as to actually the deployment, but right now for training purposes, they are working in particular zones. So that may be why you've come into contact with them. They're mobile and they're working on small research projects as we speak. So I think we're very close to deploying.
Well, I don't want anyone to you know, everybody's done a good job, but I'm saying for the amount of stuff that I seen, they're getting a heck of a training, and they're taking it right on. So I appreciate it, and thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 1 second. So Alderman Hanauer, I understand you have a question follow-up on the grass.
To follow up on the grass, Director, one of the things I was just to ask is if you could go back and look at we have developers that have areas that they're notoriously, they wait until we tell them to cut the grass. Can we maybe be a little bit preemptive this year and give them their warning now so that
It's warmer out.
You are hereby warned.
I mean, I know you can go back and you can look in the last 2 years who we've had to call and tell them to cut the grass, you know, and it's usually it's into May, beginning of June, something like that, when it's already, you know, pretty big.
And I think,
and I can give you a couple of them after the meeting, but
I would appreciate that. I think spring is coming early this year. I think we're all going to be mowing grass sooner than we normally do. So,
but I just think we need to be, you know,
Yes,
proactive on this and let them know that their one warning is effective now.
yes, sir.
Thank you.
Second.
I'm going to take a privilege of the chair and just point out that for those people who do consider this delaying mowing for a little bit, we do have our early pollinators starting to come out, our insect pollinators, so leaving a little bit of extra grass for right now and a little bit of those leaves does help our pollinator buddies who are out there. So.
That's true.
Okay, Alderman,
I'm still trying to speak to this issue that's unfinished business. I don't know how we can just jump ahead to it. So with your permission.
yes, Alderman Williams, thank you.
So back to the zone. So you've answered half of it. You're going to be connecting it to the MPOs, but the other piece is 5 of them?
Yes, sir.
So it's 10 of us, or is two of us going to share one, or?
As it stands right now, and as I said, the final deployment has not been decided on, but our working principle to train them is one zone manager for 2 wards.
Okay, so 1 for 2 wards.
Yes,
so
sir.
that's saying what I'm asking.
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
But you don't want to announce what 2 go together to the 1 yet.
Because we have not made that decision yet.
Okay, so when do you plan on, or how long does that take to think through that?
Before
I can
spring,
give you the
before
idea of
spring
what
gets
to
too far along, sir. I mean,
Huh?
before spring gets too far along,
Okay.
we won't be in hot weather before it's
Thank
done.
you.
Okay, Alderman Redpath, do you also have an unfinished business for this?
So last year, as soon as Alderman Rockford left the city, they stopped a dredging program on North Cotton Hill Road across from Doc's house. They had a drainage problem back there, and would you see where that, if we can get that going again, because we have flooding problems back there when it goes down the hill towards the lake?
on North Cotton Hill Road.
Okay.
I'll take a look at it. Sure.
Thank you, gentlemen. I do believe we really broached on some new business there, so Alderwoman Purchase.
That was old business.
Well, as everyone knows, this mic really works good.
Yes, it does. We are hearing you.
As everyone knows, this is one of my favorite times of the year. This upcoming Saturday, we are 4 days away, 6 hours, 26 minutes, and 38 seconds from the St. Patrick's Day Parade that will be located downtown, and it will start at noon. And please bring your families out and enjoy the beads, the candy, and just the festivities that's going on.
The warm weather.
I'm praying.
We're not going to look at that storm forecast.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman. It is a fun day to be in Springfield.
Yes.
Do we have no other new business to come before this council? This is your last chance, everyone. Okay, seeing none, we have citizens' requests to address the committee. The first is Beth Rogers. Thank you. And if you could, please give your name and address and direct your comments to the chair.
Yes, my name is Beth Rogers. I'm a resident of Springfield. And I want to thank all of you for representing the local citizens, and Mayor Busher, I want to thank you, and hearing our concerns. So tonight I want to talk about America. America has been a beacon of hope because of our heritage and history. A big part of our American history is right here in Springfield. Our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, stated, "All men are created equal." Our president was a great hero and a great emancipator. In the past decades, many people came to this country legally, and some still do. Most wanted to come here to vow to uphold our Constitution, willing to work hard and be contributors to our society. That is what makes a society thrive. We're also a nation of laws and a nation of borders. The Constitution is our foundational rule of law. And our nation has thrived because we are a constitutional republic. We have federal, state, and small local units of government. Having local government is also very important because that is a way for tax-paying citizens to be able to reach out to their local leaders and to observe what the governing bodies are doing to work alongside the community and on behalf of the citizens. Tonight, I want to bring up the issue of borders. Nations have borders, states have borders, counties and cities and private property owners have borders. Borders and boundaries signify a right of ownership and prerogative. And as you are aware, we have a border crisis in this country. We haven't yet witnessed a major influx of illegal migrants as much in our smaller towns and cities. But like the major cities, we're witnessing this incrementally. I understand Springfield is a welcoming city. I believe as American citizens, we should welcome people who truly love America and come here through the legal process. And what has been happening, especially in the past few years with the open borders, is open the doors to much greater concern for all citizens. There are millions of illegals coming across the nation now seeping into communities who will pervade every city, town, village, and vestige in this nation. This influx has created a much larger problems, and those will grow unless something is done. On the issue of safety and security, there's been a national security issues concerning crime. The borders have opened the door for the criminal element, allowing more potential sex and drug trafficking. We've seen an increase in fentanyl, violent offenders, cartels, and our opportunists coming through the open borders. Most of you have heard of the 22-year-old University of Georgia nursing student, Laken Riley, who went out for a run. Laken Riley was kidnapped and brutally murdered by a Venezuelan nationalist who had been previously charged with endangering a child in Queens, New York, but was cut loose before immigration officials could file a request to hold him in custody. This man was in the country illegally and charged with Laken Riley's death. And then there was a recent incident in February of an attack on two NYPD officers who were attacked by illegal immigrants. This happened after the police were trying to break up a group of migrant men accused of acting disorderly in Times Square. One of the illegals was arrested and released without bail. This man, when released, was seen on camera giving the news media the middle digit. In bringing up the issue of safety, we also need to protect and support those who protect us. I'm speaking about our law enforcement and our first responders. Many citizens and children have been victims of violent crimes committed by illegals. We as a country and our local communities need to be proactive about this serious problem of illegal immigration for the sake of well-being and safety of our communities. Financially and economically, are those crossing the border coming here for the American dream? What dream will it be for hardworking American citizens if our resources are drained because we can no longer sustain this influx? We will no longer have an adequate means, and this is going to become a financial strain on all Americans. Our nation is already trillions of dollars in debt. Many families are struggling paycheck to paycheck. Our homeless and our veterans are struggling. The government has also created programs for some less fortunate. These programs should not be abused, but should be for our own people who truly need it, like our homeless and veterans. Many illegals have been busted into cities and been put up in hotels, fed, given medical care, some free cell phones, and are being taken care of.
5 minutes are up. If you could summarize your comments now, please.
Okay, I'm almost there. Okay, so there's already illegal migrants in our community, okay, so who have entered through the open borders. And my question to our city leaders is, what will you do as city leaders to protect and work on behalf of the common good of the citizens and our law enforcement and stop our tax dollars from being drained? We welcome people who truly love America to come here, but only through the legal process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you. Alice Ramey? I'm going to give it to her. I'm sorry, our next, are you Sarah? Sarah, please come up. You are our next person in line.
Talk about the same thing I'm going to talk about, so we might as well.
Alice, no one ever talks about the same thing you talk about. I know that.
I'm used to being passed over, not passed up, so you'll have to forgive me. On Monday morning, my 6 yard waste bags were finally collected. That's after my scheduled pickup days. It only took 3 calls to Public Works, and it only took 30 days. It only took 3 times of me bringing the bags out to the street and then having to take them back because we had a forecast for a heavy snow and 2 forecasts for high winds. Through my calls to Public Works, I learned I was not the only one in this predicament. When I learned this council meeting was taking place, I was determined to document the depth of the problem. On Monday afternoon, I toured my subdivision, which is Lincoln Greens, and the subdivision next to it, which is Tallgrass. I also went through the subdivision across Old Rochester Road that goes through to East Lake Drive, and that's Forest Glen. I interviewed 4 residents in the course of this documentation. They just happened to be in their yards. I didn't ring doorbells. Not one of them was happy with the service. One resident said his yard waste had been sitting there since January. I'm leaving this for you so you can come up and look. And this is it. Anything with a smiley face refers to a topic with a resident. That had been sitting there since January. I also was advised by another resident to wrap my yard waste in plastic like the contents of a pallet. He said the high winds blow his bags around when they're left out too long. And that one is down here. He had them sitting by his garage at that point, so they were not done in that form. A third person reported that she and her husband put their yard waste out before they left for vacation in order to meet their pickup days. When they got back from their vacation, their bags were still there. This evening I drove past that particular home. The bags were finally gone. While I only surveyed part of the city, I become sensitive to yard waste bags. There are 3 large collections on the main street leading to my congregation, and 2 collections on the way to my favorite grocery store. I would be happy, free of charge, to document every single sector of this city and take pictures. I donate this photo board to you in the hope that you will take it with you as you negotiate with Republic, putting it on this easel in back of you so that they have to look at their mistakes. My husband and I are Republic for a garbage and recycling, and our blue bins are at the same driveway as the yard waste. So it's very clear who we are and what we have. The most egregious example of Republic's failure was in my subdivision. While my bags were collected on Monday morning, the bags on the street parallel to mine, this one, were not. Parallel. I go out my back door, across the drainage ditch, through the yard on the other side. There are the bags. They're already in the subdivision. Gas or electric, they paid the crew, they didn't pick up the bags. The other factor that we haven't talked about, what we need to consider, is nature itself. This is the beginning of the yard waste season in a warming trend due to climate change. Plants are coming up sooner. I already have green sprouts in my ornamental grasses and 4 blooming jonquils. Last year, I didn't get the yard work finished until close to Christmas. In previous years, I would have been done by early November. The city of Springfield will face a longer season of outdoor maintenance and costs, and therefore, we must spend each dollar as efficiently as possible because we have to stretch it due to Mother Nature more quickly. Thank you, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you very much for coming in and bringing your pictures. I will point out that the yard waste collection is 12 months now, which again, when your bags sit out and let you go on a vacation and still greet you when you come home is not much of a consolation. So I'm sure, I appreciate that Republic representatives stayed tonight, and I'm sure they heard you.
Want to come up and look at the pictures?
We can share those after the meeting, but thank you very much. Our next speaker is John Pruitt. I hope I'm saying that right. I don't have my reading glasses on.
How's everybody doing? I'm just bringing some energy, y'all. Okay. Hello. Like I said, my name is John Pruitt. I'm not going to hold y'all long. I feel like I'm at some kind of raffle. I got to talk real fast. But anyway, I know that you all represent your respective communities and wards. So I speak to you, and yet I also speak through you to your respective constituents and your people in your communities. So getting right into it, April the 18th is Lineman Appreciation Day. I'm a safety professional with 3-phase line construction, third-party contractor for Ameren. We operate a lot of different OCs all over the state of Illinois. We've all had our run-ins and dealings with power outages and stuff like that. So these are in the linemen, they're putting their lives on the line. We all have different jobs in different respects, but in 2013, on April the 18th, 2013, the 113th Congress enacted April the 18th as Lineman Appreciation Day, just a way to show that appreciation from the communities to the linemen. But I worked 10 years as a lineman, and then I've come over to the safety side, and then you have people come to me all the time and say, hey, thank you so much for all this. But that appreciation rarely ever gets to the linemen themselves. So what I'm doing this year, I've gone to like all the OCs that we work under for Ameren, and I've gone to their respective mayors, and I've requested proclamations, something so these guys can have to put on their walls to, and to show that their families and their children, that they're appreciated by their communities, and it lets their families know, hey, this is what we're doing, and it's just something, a way to show these guys appreciation. So what I'm here to do, I'm not here to ask for any kind of funding or anything like that. I'm really here to put that out there is on the 18th of this year, this is my dream. I don't know if it's going to be a reality. This is my dream. I'd like to have if we know of a facility that we can utilize to bring the guys, because they're coming from Danville, Peoria, they're coming from Jacksonville, down there in Robinson, Arnley, Champaign, Decatur. They come from different areas. We have 87 employees, but only about 57 of them are actually journeyman linemen. And just to let them come and their families come. And then, like I said, I've got 3 proclamations right here, but like I said, I'm still working on getting some more. And also, I need to get a proclamation from Springfield, by the way. But I've already submitted that request also, so that's not what I'm talking about right now. But if we could, I would find a place to have this, really, like I'm just putting that out there. If y'all can help me out with this. And the goal for this, honestly, the goal for this is to be, I know it sounds crazy, but I want it to be no money involved. I want it to be completely voluntary that shows that real, true, genuine appreciation. I don't know if that's even something that's realistic in this day and age, but I would love for it to be something possible. And if it's not possible, it's not going to be because I didn't give 110% of effort trying to get it done. So I'm going to be here. If somebody wants to talk to me, give me some advice, some support, or channel. Like I said, April the 18th is coming up. Still working on getting a couple proclamations. IBEW, which has a national newspaper, they want to do coverage over it because I've talked to them about it. Like I said, I'm going to be here. If somebody has some ideas, they can brainstorm with me. They can help me out. I greatly appreciate it. I'm also trying to work on catering, but I'm not throwing that to you guys. I'm just looking for some assistance finding a venue or something like that that would, and ideally being something that we could do voluntarily. I invite the community to come out to show their appreciation, their support for the linemen. But as much community involvement we can get, that would be awesome. As far as the other mayors that are involved, they have voiced that they could come, but they might not come, so I don't know about all that. But their proclamations, I let them know that we're going to be plenty. So, like I said, I'm not trying to hold you guys up for nothing because I know y'all got a busy night ahead of you. Thank you so much. And like I said, I'll be here all night. I'm just kidding.
Ms. Pruitt, wait, but don't leave too quickly. That's me over here. So in this room, we have our director of CWLP, who has a few linemen under his
there we go.
jurisdiction. So I would suggest talk to Director Brown. And then we also have in the back behind you over your other shoulder, Ethan Posey is our community relations. I think between these two bright gentlemen.
I went to his office today.
I've got your card in here.
Oh, okay. Look at
Ms.
that.
Pruitt, I will tell you, if there is a community that has more appreciation for their linemen than the city of Springfield, Illinois, after what we went through last year, I'd be surprised to find them. But I think this is a beautiful idea, and what resources we can bring to bear, I am absolutely excited about this. I've been talking to Director Fuchs also about our public works and our linemen need to hear how often we have all heard the thank yous and the appreciation for the dedication of a difficult job and how they keep our lights on and get them back as quickly as possible. So thank you very much for coming in tonight. Please be sure to talk to these two gentlemen, and I wrote your number down, so we'll be in touch.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for speaking
Madam
up for your
Chairman.
people.
Mr. Pruitt, you might want to check with the IBEW. They have a hall out there. They might just give you.
Well, see that, and that's the thing. Okay, so I'm still a tea carrying member myself, but I don't want it to get so political and so
That's not political.
under business.
They'll probably give it to you.
Yeah.
Just give them a call.
Give them a call.
Well, if I could get some support, that would be awesome. Me as an individual.
Hey, they're listening to us. Trust me.
Okay. Well, okay. Are you out there?
Tell them Chuck sent you.
That's right.
All right. Which local? 51? Is that what you're talking about? 51 local or 702? What are you talking about? 193? Okay.
193. Thank you. Do we have anyone else to speak tonight? Seeing none, do we have an executive session this evening?
No need, Madam Chair.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned.